just do with less. It's simple.
Right on, man. Well, hang loose because I got Rod the Bod here. And Rod the Bod, at Rodney Boyd. What's going on?
I got to tell you, Jamie, the 9 days from now, I guess we're going to have one of the, as you've been talking about, one of the most historic elections that anybody has ever seen. And, you know, you and I, we talk every week. We obviously pay attention to the presidential race. And then you let me pull your attention to what's happening here in the state. And there is a lot of change, movement, wake effect from what's happening at the top of the ticket, so to speak, in Missouri. You know, you and I have been talking about the governor's race for probably almost a year, from the primaries through now heading toward the general. And we are seeing this interesting gap closed in the governor's race. I mean, last week we were talking about what it was that made Chris Koster, who was running as a Democrat, you know, have such appeal in Missouri where he was leading Mr. Greitens. Well, I can tell you that effectively by every indicator out there that lead has diminished to what is now basically a statistical tie, which is fascinating. And you're seeing the effect of people responding to the Obamacare premiums, to the latest Hillary Clinton scandal, having some real impact in the Missouri races, even when we were wondering 2 weeks ago, was there really a coattail effect for Mr. Trump? The answer seems to be not only a coattail, but maybe, and I want to be cautious about how I say this, maybe a groundswell, if you will, in terms of momentum for candidates that were worried 2 weeks ago how they would close the gap.
Well, that's because Koster, for instance, he won't appear on my show. He won't appear on the TV show. And it's because Koster thought, and this is a problem with a typical liberal mindset, if they just don't do anything, they figure that it'll work for them. Just don't say anything. Just don't make any mistakes. And, well, Greitens, because he's passionate and energetic, has now kept up with him and indeed replaced him in terms of, in the minds of people, energetic. And listen, the things are happening. I mean, you had the Scott Walker coming in for Greitens yesterday. And you have also Ted Cruz coming in for Blunt this week. I'm hoping to hook up with him in Springfield. Both of these guys, by the way, are full-on Trump, although, Cruz is a little bit more reticent but knows what's at stake here, and so he's been a little more forthcoming in terms of support for Trump. But Walker, who was a Trump detractor for a while there, is full on board, and they also know what's important here between the governor's race and indeed the Senate race with Blunt and Kander.
Well, I will tell you this: both, Cruz and Walker have extremely high popular polling information in Missouri. People in Missouri, getting away from the national conversation, like both those guys. They both were very strong presidential primary names in Missouri, so they actually have some cachet to spend in this state. And it's very interesting that they're coming to spend it. Jamie, you and I talk about this other fact. People like you and I, we live in this political discourse. We talk about it week after week, but there are a lot of Missourians, because they're busy going to work, raising their families, dealing with life issues, that just don't live and breathe this political conversation the way we do. They are now taking this political oxygen into their lungs. They're paying attention. They're making a decision. If you look at the undecided numbers in some of the latest polls, it is now single digits. Where a month ago, it was double digits, undecided in this race, undecided in that race. Across the board, people are waking up and paying attention to these election choices. And they're saying, I'm not undecided. This is who I want. And I think that's some of why the gap is closing. This next sort of 8-9 day window where anything, as we've seen at the federal level, could happen. I still think there may be one or two more sort of wow moments before we all pull the levers or push the ballots on November the 8th. But I think that these next 8 to 9 days, probably the undecideds will get down to less than 4%, maybe 1 or 2%. Those are people that just probably don't want to say what they're going to do. But this is going to be a very interesting election because turnout.
Yeah,
and it seems like the Republican Party has more passion and more heat in this particular cycle than maybe in the last eight years.
Yeah, I don't get this Kander thing. I don't understand how this no-name is that close to Roy Blunt, given what Blunt's been able to do. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Then I see a commercial for Russ Conahan. I'm Russ Conahan. It's like, who untied you from the light post outside of Starbucks? Lord.
Kander is benefiting from the Drain the Swamp the throw the bombs out mentality, and it's not so much about him as much as it is about he has done some very good ads. People don't know him, so he's getting some of that unknown. We want somebody different look, and it's going to be up to Roy Blunt in this next 9 days to do what you just talked about, remind people what he has done. It's an interesting message because he's got to make a defined delineation between his experience and what he's done, and the anti-incumbent sentiment is very real in our state.
Yeah, that's true. But boy, I mean, Blunt is an exception to that longevity rule. I mean, here's a guy who actually has done something as a United States Senator that actually had, like, for instance, had they listened to him back in the day, we wouldn't have even needed Obamacare. These guys are working to have the mobility of health insurance plans and everything else. I mean, he's a serious guy.
He also has led and worked very tirelessly to keep the federal government's investment in Missouri, that geospatial $1.8 billion satellite mapping agency that could have left the state. He fought to keep it here. Yeah. There are some things that he's going to have to get his message out, specifically on what he has done and why his experience has been good for Missouri, and not so much that I'm a part of D.C., but this is what I've done. I think if you hammer that type of message home to people in the next 8 days, those that are sort of breathe the oxygen of this election cycle, they find that they can live in that world, and that's what he's going to have to do. I think you'll see some of those ads.
Well, if it's the throw the bums out mentality, how they can elect Russ Carnahan? I'm Russ Carnahan. Lieutenant Governor. What's he doing? Lieutenant Governor or something?
Yeah, he's running for lieutenant governor.
Lord.
And this is the other. That race right now is also within the margin of error.
I know, but
Mike Parsons. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Mike Parsons is trying to get his message out as well. So, like I said, this next week or so is when people are going to make their final, I think, decisions. A lot of them have, but still there's some room for people to close that gap.
Rod the Bod, at Rodney Boyd, host of Insider Talk 12 to 1. Thanks for all your insight, brother.